All right, well, I'm going to start off with the price of Bitcoin because I think that's going to lead into what I'm thinking with these Bitcoin miners. And right here, I have the daily chart of Bitcoin. And as we can see, we're having a pretty sharp move down over the last several hours. But the thing I wanted to point out is I think this pattern is starting to resolve itself kind of like it did back in March, April, and May. It hasn't been as long, hasn't been as drawn out, but I think it's, going to unfold in the same type of pattern. And not the entire pattern, but let me get into it right here. So we had this well-defined trend line right here after a sharp move up. And then we had the break of that trend line, and then we had this little counter move as price wedged up. Now, of course, it broke down and had this big move down in price. Now, I think that this is probably the least likely scenario. I think it could happen, but I think the most likely scenario from this point in the chart pattern right now is, we're probably going to wedge up. It already looks like price is starting to, solidify itself a little bit. I think the next logical step is a wedge up here. I think a lot of these Bitcoin miners are way oversold, and if we get some price appreciation or a nice little rebound in the price of Bitcoin, I think that's going to have a positive effect on those Bitcoin miners. So next thing that I see happening with the price of Bitcoin, I'm thinking is, kind of a little bit of a wedge up. But let's get into those Bitcoin miners, and I'll tell you the ones that I like the best. And my most favorite Bitcoin miner that I am watching for a potential trade for tomorrow is Marathon Digital Holdings, ticker symbol MARA, just because this one has had such a deep pullback and this thing has been going straight down. This thing is overdue for a reactionary move to the upside. I actually thought I had a alert set on my software. I've been watching this one ever since it broke the 21 period exponential moving average. I thought I had an alert on my software to alert me once this thing got close to this blue line, this 50 period simple moving average. Once it got to that point, I wanted to either buy some stock or buy some options. I hadn't really decided yet. But after checking through some of my charts, I saw that it already came down there and hit that moving average and bounced. And I checked through my alerts, and I must have forgot to put it in. So that was just a lapse on my part, man. But that would have been a great trade to have. I probably would have got some call options, so I would have been up quite nicely on those already. But just a beautiful bounce off that 50 period simple moving average. Once stocks are coming down very sharply like this, I mean, the logical areas for them to bounce are these two moving averages right here. If they come down into them, which is the 50 period simple moving average, the blue line, or this yellow line, which is the 200 period simple moving average. Now, you don't necessarily get a huge bounce off them, but it'll usually at least be temporary. So if you want to play that on a day trade, or if you want to, just take a shot on, trying to catch a swing trade, that's usually a pretty good area to catch a bounce. As you can see, after this sharp move down we had back in September and October, it did find support at the 50 period simple moving average just for a couple of days before it rolled over, but then it found permanent support at the yellow line, the 200 period simple moving average. So those are very important indicators to have on your chart. If you have any moving averages on your chart, you should at least have these two, because you see so many good bounces that come off of them. But anyway, Mara is my favorite. I'm hoping that this thing can pull back a little bit towards the end of the day, and I could probably or hopefully get into some call options that are expiring tomorrow, because I am thinking we're going to get a little bit of a continuation move up, especially if we get a bounce in Bitcoin. That's going to be favorable for these miners. All right, number 2 on the list is RIOT blockchain. RIOT blockchain had a big move down out of this descending wedge formation. I was watching this one also over the last couple of days, thinking we were going to get a bounce out of this to the upside, but I was just waiting for it to resolve itself either way. And we can see we had a big move down today. Mainly the move down today was because the cryptos sold off, but I think I have an alert on this one. If it gets close to $30, I'll probably have to double check that once the video is over. But I was looking for this one once it got down to $30 a share as well. But the bounce could be happening already. The next logical area for this thing to probably find some resistance is right at this trend line right here. So let's go to the 15-minute chart. And if we look at RIOT, I think if this thing ends up retracing all the way back up to this trend line that I have on the chart right around $34 and $34.29 or so, we're probably going to get a reaction move to the downside. So that might be my most optimal time to get in on those call options, because I'm thinking we're probably going to get a reactionary move down and then probably move back to the upside. So RIOT is number 2 on the list. The next one is CleanSpark. I actually own shares in this one. Let's go back to the daily chart on CleanSpark. And we can see CleanSpark, was in this kind of megaphone pattern where it was kind of getting, pretty wide, but now we've got that sharp break to the downside. If you've seen any of my old videos, I was talking about how this little pattern right here was probably going to resolve itself to the downside, and that's exactly what we got. It's a big move to the downside. I didn't get to play it as well as I would have liked, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. And by the way, I do have a Patreon group, and if you want to know what we are buying and selling in real time, the link is down there in the description. It's only $10 a month. We just have a small group of traders, and we like to help each other out. So if you're interested in joining that, you are more than welcome. And also, if you don't mind liking the smash button, that really helps out the channel, so I am told. And one last thing, I am not a financial advisor, so please make all of your own trading decisions. Everything in this video is for entertainment purposes only. But CleanSpark is number 3 on my list. I do think it's going to have some resistance at this yellow line, at this 200-period simple moving average, if we do get a bounce up into it. I think I have a alert set on this one that once it gets closer to the 50-period simple moving average, I'll have to double check that one as well. Number 3 on the list is HUT 8. You can see HUT 8. I've been watching this one for a resolution out of this little descending wedge formation. As you can see, it's rolling over today as well. It's just because the cryptos are rolling over, so it's having a negative effect on these. But I think I have an alert set on this one. I'll have to double check that one. But I think if it gets down to this 50-period simple moving average, it should get a nice bounce off of HUT 8 mining. If the Bitcoin miners are going to rally, which I think they are, some of these ones might not make it down to that 50-period simple moving average in the near future anyway. But next one is Bitfarm. And I think Bitfarm has been the strongest. You can see this one is holding its own in a big way. This might be the strongest one just because it has the highest relative strength out of all of them over the last couple of days or so. But going to the 15-minute chart, you can see this pattern is very similar to what was going on with CleanSpark. It had this nice broad rounding top formation, then it broke this support area, and you kind of wait to see how it resolves itself. Usually these things, kind of end up bouncing back into the support area, and then they roll over again. We'll have to see if that happens with Bitcoin or with Bitfarms. If Bitcoin does continue to go down, this one might fall pretty hard. So this one would be one that I would expect to potentially fall the hardest if we don't find a floor in the price of Bitcoin over the next day or so. But these next 2 that I want to show you, they're kind of like wild cards. They're lower priced ones. I don't know very much about these. These are the ones I know the least amount, but I'm going to bring them out there to you anyway, just because I do like their chart patterns. First one is LUXFF Holdings. This one is making a descending wedge formation. This is actually brought to my attention by one of my Patreons. I had actually never heard of this company, but it's making a very nice descending wedge formations, which usually end up resolving themselves to the upside, even though we saw a few of those break down with those other Bitcoin mining charts, just because the cryptos were breaking down, so that had more of an effect. News always has more of an effect on a chart than the chart pattern. So if news trumps all chart patterns, so if good news or bad news comes out, the chart pattern is secondary. So don't expect, if a chart pattern is supposed to typically break to the upside and negative news comes out, don't expect that chart pattern to hold, and vice versa. But I do think that LUXFF has a very nice looking chart pattern at the moment. And last one I'm going to go over is DMGGF. You can see DMGGF, DMG blockchain. This thing has been trying to finish this rounded bottom for months and months and months. I've been checking on this one about once a week or so just to see if we're going to end up getting a breakup of that 200 period simple moving average and a hold, and we just can't seem to get there yet. But definitely have this one on my list in case we do get a breakout, because I think if we do get a breakout above this pivot right here and it holds, I think DMGGF could go on a pretty nice run by the way that this chart pattern is shaping out. All right, so let's get into my trading activity for the day, and spoiler alert, it was not a good day at all. There were so many moving parts going on with the market right now. I probably should have just not day traded at all, because there was so many stocks that were getting hit hard. There were several of my long-term holdings that were getting hit hard, and I wanted to take advantage and add to those long-term positions. And most of the stocks that I was watching for my day trading screen, actually all of them were getting hit pretty hard except for CRDF. So when the market started to turn around a little bit, I figured if this one broke out, I would take it. And I broke a couple of rules in the process of taking this trade, and it ended up costing me. But the first rule that I broke is, it was really too close to this 50-period simple moving average. If it's too close to one of those major moving averages on the breakout or near the breakout point, I usually avoid it. Even though it didn't make it to that 50-period simple moving average, I bet if it would have rolled over just the same. And another rule that I broke, I kind of took it too late in the day, but I thought the market was turning around, and this was one of actually it was the only strong stock that I was looking at as far as the day trades. And it started to break out. I put my order in. It did not work. But let's go to the 5-minute chart, and I'll show you what I mean. So we had this nice little gap up. And this one was just kind of trending sideways as a lot of stuff was rolling over hard. So I figured if it broke above this high of the first 15 minutes, I would take a position. I normally don't like to take a position after an hour of the day has already gone by. And I took this position at 10:30 exactly. So this one was pushing it, because usually after 10:30 a lot of the volume will end up coming out of the market. Most of the volume that is traded in the first half of the day anyway comes in the first hour. We all know that. But I took the trade here. I got executed at $6.24. The high of the day was $6.25, so that was nice. And I placed my stop just below the 8-period exponential moving average on this 5-minute chart. And you can see it pulled back immediately and stopped me out at $5.88, like almost instantaneously. And actually this thing, started to turn around and take off again. This ended up being a 6% loss. But this thing immediately started taking off again and made a new high. And believe it or not, I actually wanted to take a revenge trade and buy this thing again, because I was like, you know what, the way everything is going today, I bet this thing continues on the breakout just to spite me. But I'm glad I didn't break another rule and re-enter, because I would have been stopped out again. But I've had 8 winning day trades in a row. I guess I was due for a correction, just like I think, those Bitcoin mining stocks are due for a bounce the other way. And, tomorrow will be another day. So, hey, hopefully I can make a winning day trade tomorrow. But that wasn't the end of it. Believe it or not, I was actually going to buy an option trade today. I plan on holding it till tomorrow. I was looking at Apple. I told the members in the Patreon group, because of this break of this trend line right here, I wanted to buy a pullback and take advantage of a potential move towards the old high, which we can see it's already doing it. I had an order to buy the $155 call for 41 cents. It actually pulled back just to that order, and I lowered it for some reason. There were so many other things going on. I was thinking the pullback in Apple was going to be a little bit deeper, and I think maybe the low on that contract was right around 36 cents, so I just missed the low. I would have caught it. I would have caught it at 41 cents. And right now, that contract, it was trading at about $2.70 the last time I checked. So that would have been, what, 7 times my money if I would have just held on to it. So That would have been a nice trade, but unfortunately, you know, I got a little greedy, lowered it. I thought it was going to pull back a little bit closer to this trend line, but that did not happen. Man, I absolutely loved the way this Apple chart was looking. Nice rounded bottom. It was fighting with this trend line. Had a nice break of it yesterday. I was hoping we were going to get a little bit more of a pullback, and I could have, you know, been a little bit greedier and got in at a cheaper price on those options, but that sucker took off without me, so that was another bummer for the day. So this day was actually one of the worst trading days I've had in a long time, but it happens. Tomorrow is another day for sure, and maybe I'll be getting into some of those Mara options. I'll have to look and see where that price is trading at, but hopefully I can make some money back on that one if I get in. But that was the trading activity for the day. Okay, everyone, that is all I have for this video, so I'm going to end it right there. But if you have any questions or comments on any of these stocks, or if you have any other ones you want me to take a look at, please leave it down there in the comments section. I will get to them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way to the end, and until next time, take care, everybody.